state on my license plate.
Aint Natural. A young boy from the 1920s is wearing headphones, a gold chain, and Nike shoes. This represents what the interests are with many people in our generation, which is materialistic. Although he appears to be working, he's working for material. This focus takes away from what is important. Layered behind are real archive photos from the 1921 race massacre that occurred in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Greenwood district, also known as America's Black Wall Street, had over 600 high-grossing successful businesses. The image that says Little Africa on fire and running the Negro out of Tulsa are very real images. Another image described as running the Negro out of Tulsa June 1st is also superimposed into the graphic. Smoke is smothering the sky as you see in the images where the buildings' homes have been reduced to rubble. The background is a botanical forest scene representing the only natural element in the piece and symbolic to Greenwood as a district. Drexel vibes. Dick Rowland Diamond was a 19-year-old shoe shiner and Sarah Page a 17-year-old elevator operator. The Drexel building is where they are pictured and said to be where Diamond tripped and assaulted Page. Diamond had access to the restroom on the top floor, meaning they had met each other on several occasions. This rumor of assault was published in a newspaper and quickly ensued a mob at the courthouse. African-American World War II vets said this was not going to take place. They congregated and shortly after a white mob did too. A tussle took place and a shot was shot into the air. 16 hours later, Greenwood had been destroyed. The inside of an elevator shaft is shown and a light swirl that represents synergy between the two surges across. It is said that Diamond and Page were actually in a relationship and later seen in Kansas City, Missouri. The background continues to have botanical elements as Black Wall Street currently takes steps to rebuild. Diamond effect. The aftermath of just 16 hours of enraged disaster for both buildings and mankind, the same is pictured directionally. A full row of buildings are shown along Greenwood Avenue in ruins. An oversized diamond is hovering over a car, which represents the preciousness of the times, as well as Dick Rowland Diamond, his self-given name, because he wore a diamond-encrusted belt buckle as he shined shoes and went around town. He was thrown in jail under the courthouse after being accused of attacking Sarah Page in the Drexel building elevator, and the massacre quickly ensued. Lula and James Williams, the owners of the Dreamland Theater, are shown in a 20s era car, styling and being their authentic selves. Otis Clark Jr.'s eyes are pictured in the top right. If you look very closely, he was a survivor and is featured above the aftermath. Blatancy. Here is a copy of the Confederate Union in 1918, 3 years before the Black Wall Street Massacre. The reunion took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma. During the reunion, a full-blown parade through downtown Tulsa took place. Tate Brady is listed as chairman, self-proclaimed founder of Tulsa, which is not true. The Perryman family, which is Creek, is also noted as the original founders of Tulsa. Tulsa, Oklahoma was originally part of Indian Territory and was first settled by Creek tribes in 1836. Nathan Bedford Forrest is a known third-generation KKK member. His great-great-great-grandfather founded the KKK. As of just a year ago, the Brady District was renamed the Tulsa Arts District. This took much effort from the community to make happen. A black business storefront was placed on top of the sign because the district is blatant disrespect to Black Wall Street, which currently intersects Greenwood Avenue. It would easily not be disrespectful, with reallocated funds geared toward and controlled by the black community. Drillers Baseball Stadium is a blatant disrespect to Black Wall Street. The Confederate flags are crossed out with lightning streaks. Black millions. The inside of a convenience store, as the owners proudly pose, held many common and household goods. This was one of many stores back then, as North Tulsans had more options than just the Dollar General that sits on Pine Street now. The headline, "Negroes Withdraw Millions from Tulsa Banks," was printed in the Black Dispatcher, the largest circulated Negro journal in Oklahoma, based in Oklahoma City. To rebuild among the ashes of tomorrow, a greater and a better Negro district in the city, was the slogan among the leadership of black folk. C.M. White of Denver, Colorado, owned one of the strongest Negro insurance companies in America. He made a tentative proposition to Negroes of Tulsa to place $500,000 toward a reconstruction initiative. Wes Young, who is passed now but was 94 in picture, fled with his mother and sister as armed white men rampaged through his neighborhood in 1921. In early settlement, the Trail of Tears brought many blacks to the area, and many Native American tribes made the black woman the matriarch. Was a strip that started at Arch Avenue but spanned even past Pine Street. The motion of exchanging money for goods, having a choice of more than 30 black-owned restaurants, and driving your fully owned car down the Greenwood Strip was going on 2 decades strong. Greenwood and Archer Avenue during its most thriving economic years before the 1921 massacre is pictured above. Black Wall Street was founded in 1905. Barney Cleaver is the man in uniform. He was the first and only African American on the Tulsa police force. Now, Barney Cleaver was from Virginia and was actually appointed deputy sheriff at the time. Deputy Sheriff Cleaver and his wife, Vernon Wren, lived in 508 North Greenwood in 1914 and owned interest in the building across the street from their home, the Cleaver Cherry Building. O.W. Gurley Ways. George Monroe was delivering Coca-Cola to local businesses as the first African-American delivery salesman. This was his day job, as he also owned a club called the Pink House, which served the community in the evening. It was a house. The top picture of a store called Busy Bee, owned by Edward Benton, located off of Archer Street. B.C. Franklin, who was a lawyer, is pictured here in his office with his partners. There's also a white man pictured there. While doing research, it is often said that Tulsa was existing just fine before the hyped article proclaiming Dick Rowland Diamond attacked Sarah Page. It was legally segregated at the time, and there was an article with the headline, "There's going to be a lynching tonight." An article describes how O.W. Gurley obtained land in Oklahoma and how he strategically only allowed Negroes to purchase the property. Gurley actually came from an affluent family and resigned his appointment under the current president of the United States, Grover Cleveland, to come to Tulsa in 1906. Ku Klux Klan. A newspaper from the 20s featured advertising from the May brothers stating if you join the KKK, you received a discount on your suit. What's so ironic is the May brothers are Jewish, and this was a spoof because so many people in Tulsa, Oklahoma supported the KKK. Most know the KKK as a widely known white supremacist hate group founded by Confederate soldiers. The number of deaths confirmed is wrong. They state 39 confirmed deaths with 800 plus injured. It was more. Tent cities were then set up for Greenwood victims because their beautiful owned homes had been destroyed. Many of these residents had more than one home, more than one business, more than one car. This was Black Wall Street. The Red Cross administered these tents. A barrel of a gun is pointed right at you, attempting to simulate this image of point-blank range because so many victims saw that side of the gun that night. My brothers, my sisters, my elders. Riot is marked out because it was a massacre. Massacre as a noun, an indiscriminate and brutal slaughter of people. As a verb, deliberately and violently killed. Riot just doesn't sum this tragedy up. The sun shining through the forest sets the background. White allies. In the midst of a dark spark night, there were souls that knew the mob of whites were not right. That included some whites themselves. They hid victims in their basement, in meat lockers, and provided them with clothes and food. Merrill and Ruth Phelps hid and fed victims in their basement for days. Mary Earhart hid a black porter in the meat locker of the YWCA where she roomed. Renberg's clothing store gave clothes. The First Presbyterian and Holy Family churches opened their doors to fleeing victims who were often referenced as refugees. Sam Zarrow and his wife hid victims in their store at 4th and Rockford. The Zarrows are now a well-known Tulsa philanthropic family. Would also like to note Maurice Willows, who was the director of the Red Cross, was a bridge between white and black power structures, as was written. Many leaders, including B.C. Franklin and I.H. Spears, noted Willows as that angel of love and mercy. Hooker safe. A safe is floating above a mob of white men. This safe was owned by the late Dr. Olivia Hooker's father. He owned a store, and she says the white mobsters attempted to carry it out and take it, but it was too heavy. Money in the safe was that of business owners that did not put their money in the white banks on the south side of Tulsa. The telegram that was sent from Oklahoma City ordering the National Guard into Tulsa is pictured. The National Guard inevitably ended up supplying bombs that dropped on Tulsa. This was during the span of 16 hours it took to destroy the area. This made it a government, state, and city-induced massacre. Hostages being marched and driven down to the convention center are also shown in archive photos. They were given white badges if they were vouched for by trustworthy whites. This is far too similar to the Jewish Holocaust, and this happened right here in America. The background is the forest with the sun shining through, not fire. Greenwood Reality. Women joyously working inside the Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Salon, which was located on Greenwood Avenue. The St. Monica High School Marching Band is parading down Greenwood Avenue in celebration. Dr. Olivia Hooker is the child sitting on top of the Greenwood letters. She was 6 at the time when Greenwood was destroyed. Hooker is the first African-American woman to have entered the U.S. Coast Guard in 1945. She was a psychologist and a professor. Dr. Hooker passed away November 2018 at the age of 103. She lived a long, glorious life, even after reaping no retribution for the tragedy that curbed her life drastically in 1921. Hooker recounts her mother telling her to not dwell on the tragedy and to continue to move forward. Greenwood hosted many events, and even top musicians were often booked for white Tulsans to enjoy, but could not stay in their hotels. The J.B. Stratford Hotel was a popular destination as one of the largest African-American owned hotels at the time.
I'm from Oklahoma.